Hello, and welcome to Goodshuffle Pro's webinar series. I'm Mallory Mullen, Senior Sales Executive at Goodshuffle Pro. In this edition, we'll be covering how to level up your event business with stress-free tech, something that our special guest, Lonielle Cousar, knows all about. Lanielle is the owner and designer at Yes Event Decor, and she leverages Goodshuffle Pro to generate more revenue, save time, and keep her and her clients organized. Goodshuffle Pro software helps all sorts of event companies, from rental houses to event designers, balloon artists to florists, get a handle on what they own so they don't overbook, create polished and professional contracts and payment processes for their clients, and ultimately sets up their businesses to streamline and scale. Our conversation is thoughtful, insightful, and action-oriented so that you can walk away with tangible steps on how to incorporate technology into your business. I hope you enjoy. For those of you who don't know Lonielle, she is a mother, entrepreneur, New York native, and self-proclaimed workaholic, and Goodshuffle Pro user. Before joining Goodshuffle Pro family, before getting into the events industry, she was a project manager for nearly a decade before feeling called to start her own business. And that was so important to her because she wanted her son to see that anything is possible when you begin to walk in faith with purpose. Lanielle has created unique and stress-free experiences for her clients by incorporating special touches that are unique to each client from event to event and working hard to create seamless experiences for her client. Her goal is to make sure that her clients get to enjoy their events without the exhaustion from setup. And as someone who spent nearly a decade in the events industry myself, I understand that desire all too well. Lanielle has been a Goodshuffle Pro in the Goodshuffle Pro family now for about a year, using Goodshuffle Pro to help her manage her business. And our technology helps event owners, planners, designers, florists, balloon artists, event rental companies, you name it, manage your entire business in one software. I like to say from concept to completion. So we'll talk about the software today and talk about Lonielle's experiences in a couple different ways. When folks go on this journey with us, it's a little bit like going on a road trip. And I like to think about going on a road trip in a couple of different ways. You can have a very direct route. You can be the person who is preparing everything ahead of time. Or you can be the person who is a little bit more, loosey-goosey. Maybe you take the scenic route and kind of take your time and see where things take you. And, whether you're the person who is, the mom with the list that's creating all of the plans, everyone's got their suitcases are ready. We've got snacks for days, supplies to days, the car is loaded and we're ready to go. Or you are the girl that is telling your girlfriends, hey, let's pack up and go and see where the road takes us. Both plans can get you to a great place and both options are certainly okay. And the same is true in business, right? Folks oftentimes talk to us and are curious about, how we can get started. Do I need to do everything all at once? Or is it something that I can do over time? And the truth of the matter is that we really want Goodshuffle Pro, your business experience, to grow with you. And whatever option is going to feel the most comfortable for you is at your disposal, which makes it really easy. What you do need to have in mind, like for a road trip, is a map, right? And where you're going to go. And that's kind of how your journey with technology and the tools that you need for your business can go. So just like for a road trip, you need to have a destination in mind. You don't have to, but I think if you go on a road trip without any sense of where you're going, little less enjoyable. So if we have a destination, we've got to have our map so we know where to go. We've got to have a car, obviously, if we're going on a road trip, gas to power that vehicle, some clothes or equipment, right? Maybe we're going hiking, maybe we're going to the beach, wherever it is. We may need some tools, some add-ons to get us having a good time there. And then of course, luggage, like a way to keep it all organized. So this is much like your business. Your requirements for your business include having goals and a business plan, websites, your unique value, goods and services, and software and tools to get you in the right spot. And, wherever you are in your business journey, both Lonielle and Goodshuffle Pro offer tools to help get you there. One of my favorite things about Lonielle and her business and her mission is she's not just in it for herself and her clients. She has a whole channel dedicated to helping other event professionals figure this out, figure out if they want to make a full-time go of it, figure out what their business plans are. So I'm going to have Zoe drop into our chat. And if you're watching this recording, we'll link in the description below to one of Lonielle's videos that is titled, "I Love Decorating Events. Should I turn this hobby into a business?" And she lays out some questions for you to answer to figure out, is this a journey that you want to take? And if you want to take it, do you want it to be something that is full-time, where you're eventually managing a staff and you've got drivers for your deliveries and crew and it's a big operation? Are you wanting it to do it full-time as a solo entrepreneur? Or do you maybe want to do it part-time as a way for supplemental income? And that video can help you dig out some of the questions to ask yourself as you're figuring that out. Once you decide, hey, this is definitely something I want to do, it is time to make a plan. And in order to have a business, you've got to generate revenue, right? And in order to generate revenue, you need to map out what that looks like. And so Goodshuffle Pro has created a free guide for you, how to start an event or party rental company. Also going to link to that so you have it. That has so many good, both conceptual and textual questions to ask yourself to figure out, okay, now that I know that this is what I want to do, what do I have to do next? And so the business plan in there and those articles will be a great guide. The number one thing that I can tell you as you're getting your marketing together, as you're putting all of your tools together for the business, is to get a website, right? Think about if you were describing to even your closest friends how to get to your house and what to expect there without an address. Maybe they'd only been there like once or twice. They knew where your house was generally, but not specifically. Now, think about having somebody that wants to come say hi to you, but maybe a new friend that has never been to your house before, never even been to your neighborhood. They know you exist, but they have no idea where your house is. If you don't give them an address, how are they going to find you? How are they going to know what to expect? And that's a little bit like a website, right? That is your address for your business. And there you can set clear expectations for what your house is like, right? Like if you're going to an address for a business, on the Google Maps listings may have photos inside. If it's a restaurant, may show pictures of some of the food that's going to be served to create a very clear expectation for the client of what their experience will be like. And that's your opportunity to do so on a website. Social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, all of those things are great. But in order to really have this polished and professional business experience, business profile, definitely have a website. We have website strategies for event professionals. everything you need spelled out. Zoe has dropped that link into the chat. Again, we'll drop it into the description if you're watching this recording below. And we love websites. So if you have any questions, please talk to us, because we believe that it is a great tool to show off your UVP, or unique value proposition. And what that is the way that you do business, the way that make the qualities that make you different than anyone else in your market or that you're competing with. A lot of people think that price is the only unique value, right? I'm the cheapest in my area, or I'm the cheapest in my market. And price certainly can be a unique value, but it's not the only one. So I encourage you to check out our blog post on how to find your UVP and secure loyal clients. And if you are one of the more established businesses with us tonight or watching this recording, I'm also going to link to why isn't my events business more profitable. Some things could have to do with inventory, some things could have to do with pricing, but it is more than likely something else. And so that post will point you in the right direction. Lastly, next you're gonna need some goods and services, right? To make sure that you are giving those, putting those front and center for your business. That has a lot to do with your UVP, but your UVP is not a good or a service. Lanielle has a great behind the scenes look at her event decorations inventory, which can be a great place to start. And our blog has some tips for personalizing some of your rentals as well. So everything from like a card box to some table decor. And so we'll add those resources as well. And finally, the software and tools that you'll need to organize your business. This is, like we talked about, this is just like your luggage. It's going to keep everything organized. It's going to keep everything compartmentalized, and it's going to make sure you're efficiently bringing everything along on this journey with you. And so with that, Lanielle, I'd love to invite you and we can chat more. I know when you came to Goodshuffle Pro about a year ago, you had been in business for a little bit, getting things organized. And I'm curious what your tipping point was that got you to seek out Goodshuffle Pro.
Yes. So for me, it got to the point where I didn't know what was in my inventory. I had stuff around my house. I had stuff, in a storage unit. I just had stuff, I feel like, all over the place. And when I had clients who were calling me, I just didn't know exactly what I had. And so when it came time for me to give quotes to clients, I was always overwhelmed and anxious with the process, because it would be like, okay, now let me go figure out what I have. I told the client that I had this, let me make sure that I have it and that I don't have to order it. So for me, my tipping point was that I did not have a good handle on what was in my inventory. And I did not want to create an Excel spreadsheet. Like, I was just like, there's no way I want to create another Excel spreadsheet to manage my inventory. I wanted something that was more systematic, and that was going to help me track what I had.
Absolutely. And I remember part of our conversation too was because you were in this scramble of not having a good handle on the inventory pieces you had. And you even mentioned it just now, right? Like, do I have this or do I have to go and buy it? And as a business owner, the last thing you want to do is disappoint a client. So, always making sure what you have is important. But I feel like I remember talking about how buying the same things was really hurting your ability to make money for the business.
Yes. So that is one of the things that, Goodshuffle Pro has really, really, really helped me with, is not having to purchase the same things that I already have in my inventory. So before Goodshuffle Pro, the quoting process was really, really overwhelming to me. It always took me a really long time. It felt like, I would just spend sometimes, a couple of days just trying to figure out, what do I have in my inventory? If I don't have it in my inventory, how do I create a quote for a client? Let me shop around. A lot of times, because I didn't even want to go through that, couple of day process, I would just order stuff. I would just say, you know what, I'll just go ahead and order whatever the client is asking me for. And so many times I would make it over to my storage unit and realize I already had those balloons, or I already had that tablecloth, or already had those, drapes right here in my storage unit. So that is one of the things that Good Shuffle has definitely helped me with, is not purchasing something that I already have.
How did you feel about investing in a tool like Goodshuffle? I know growing businesses are always very cognizant on price, and I am certainly sensitive to the fact that like every dollar counts as you're growing a business. What would you say to the business owners who are a little bit leery of making that investment when they look at the cost of Goodshuffle Pro versus having a free tool, right? Like a spreadsheet or an Excel file?
Yeah. That's a good question. So for me, what I really had to weigh was my time, because I'm a single business owner. It's only just me. So I only have but so much time in a day. I only have but so much time to try to, book a client before that client goes off, to another event designer in my area, because there's plenty, right? And then also, for me, it really came across that I really wanted something that was like professional, right? So it was like, me coming up with a spreadsheet, oh my gosh, just the thought of it was overwhelming me, because it was going to be completely manual. And then I was going to have to be the one to maintain it, right? So that's time. But then also, it's just like, when you're doing things manually, you make mistakes, and then that doesn't look professional to your clients if you're saying that you've had something, or you think you had something. And then another thing, it's just so time consuming, and it's limiting as to what you can do. So like for me, I think, when it comes down to cost, you always have to weigh, what does it cost of your, like, how much time, right, are you putting in? You have to assign a cost to your time, and then see if you feel like, okay, investing in this tool is worth it. So for me, it was totally worth it, because the hours and hours and hours of me, trying to figure out what I had in my inventory, and then trying to come up with quotes, that clearly, the time that I was saving clearly outweighed, what I would have to pay for this system. So that's what I would recommend, is that you always look at, how much time is it going to save me, and what are the benefits of the system, and, put a cost to that, and then see, if you're able to invest in it.
Yeah, I can't imagine all of the seconds, minutes, hours, days that you've saved from having this handle on your inventory, having such a great tool to get quotes and contracts out quickly to the clients and paid faster. And less time spent answering like emails, calls, and texts, because on the quotes and contracts, which we'll take a look at here in a moment, you were able to put photos on there, and pictures on there, and descriptions on there. So it was very clear to the client, here's what I have, here's what I'm bringing, and how that catapulted in spending more time with your son, doing things with him, or doing things with family and friends. I think too, businesses are sometimes so focused on, yes, this is shaving minutes and maximizing time at the office, but there's also time, your personal time, that you want to win back
Mm-hmm.
too.
And that is such a good point. I mean, when you're investing in a system, you have to think about, like you said, the time that you're saving, that you get to spend on doing personal stuff. And another thing, there's just so many good points about Good Shuffle. Another great thing for me was that when I was creating quotes manually, I had like a Word document that I was creating my quotes on, and I was sending that to my clients, and that was a complete manual process. But it was really hard for me to like show clients visually what they were going to be getting at their event. So, I would try to put pictures in there. Some people, I understand, they're better artists than I am. So they'll draw a picture, but I cannot draw to save my life. So there was no way I was going to draw pictures for my clients. They definitely would not have booked me if they would see a picture that I draw them.
Everyone has their unique value, Lanielle. That is okay. It's okay that that's not yours.
They definitely would not have booked me. So that was such a great way when I started sending quotes out of Goodshuffle, was that finally I had a way to incorporate a visual. I had a way to show them, okay, these are the exact decorations I'm going to give you. And clients were able to interact with the pictures. They're able to come back to me and say, yes, I like this, or no, what about this? And then I can switch it out. So that has definitely helped me to save time going back and forth with the client, because clients can just see the pictures. They say yay, they say no. We just have quick conversations and then they book. Like, I feel like the pictures have helped my clients book so much quicker because they're able to see what they're getting, right? It's not like, I'm describing it in words. They're able to actually see pictures of the decorations that they're getting. So
that's
I love
awesome.
it.
Well, Lanielle, should we maybe build a quote together now and we can give folks a tour of Goodshuffle Pro together?
Sure. And then I can keep commenting on all the things that I love.
Yes, absolutely. Please do. I'm eager for folks to start seeing this in action. So we can definitely continue that conversation as I share my screen. So I want to start by talking a little bit about how Goodshuffle Pro is structured, and then we'll jump into the proposal building. So as you are putting quotes together in Goodshuffle, as you're sending those out to clients and as contracts get signed, all of that process is automated, which Lonielle has talked a little bit here, and color coded so it's obvious to you where things stand. You've got tons of reporting options here, so you can always bring forward the information that matters most to you. And then Lanielle, I know you mentioned to me that you really like seeing this information on the dashboard because of how visual everything is. So
yes.
the dashboard gives you the opportunity to see, okay, where things are happening and what's happening around town, clients who owe you money, emails, tasks, these great dashboards that are beautifully color coded. And Lanielle, I think it's the leaderboard that you really liked, being able to see where your revenue is being earned. Is that correct?
Exactly. So this is where you could, tag the event and put different attributes on the event, and then you're able to see, where your income is coming from. So like for me, I love to see the event types, because last year I had so many baby showers and I didn't even realize it. And so that was one of the driving factors of me coming up with packages for my clients, based on, these different event types and, the different types of events that I decorate. So this to me is what I'm always looking at.
Awesome. I love that. And it's just great to have such wonderful visuals that are easy to understand. And like you just said, easy to make decisions about for your business. So I love that so much. So let's go ahead and create a new project. In the top right-hand corner, you'll see that there is a new project button. When you click that, you're going to be taken to what we call a new project. That is just our word for contract, proposal, quote, event, order, whatever you refer to it as. And this becomes like your digital file folder where you're going to keep everything organized in one place. So let's, in this case, pretend that we're going to be working with our friend Bethany on a baby shower for I don't know, a niece, a friend, a daughter, someone. And so within Goodshuffle, you can go ahead and search your directory for repeat clients. And what's great here is you can easily click on Bethany's name and have all her details see every event that you've ever done with her, anything upcoming, and make sure that she's a good paying client. Now, Lanielle, you have a secret here. If Bethany calls you back and says, hey, let me do this thing like we did last year, what's your trick?
I'm going to duplicate
Yes.
one of
Yes.
my previous events, which I absolutely love that feature.
Absolutely. So if we weren't doing something new for Bethany for the first time, if she called and said, hey, I am going to have this backyard affair for a family friend, it's going to be just like the event that we did last year, you can easily duplicate your events. And this is going to create a carbon copy of the event that you did last time, making it super easy for you because you don't have to start from scratch.
And another quick note on that is that a lot of times, you'll get clients who see your work on Instagram or they'll see your work on Pinterest and they'll say, oh, I want this, right? You did this before. So, can you do something like that for my event? So in that case, you could duplicate a project and then, just add the new client's information, the new venue's information, and then boom, right? So it just makes it so much easier to create quotes.
We love that so much. Well, the convenience continues, right? Obviously, we're going to do things like pick the event date and time. This is how we got the report on the dashboard. This event type allows you to select your event, manage the number of attendees. And of course, you can make, have a day of contact if that's separate from, the client that's contracting you. And then of course, that notes that are either external to the client. Maybe like we agreed for a final call on for 15, and then internally something like Bethany loves margaritas. So maybe I'll offer her to go for margs for a celebration after the event is over. From here, we're going to go ahead and start to put our quote together. So I wanted to walk through a couple of different examples, some of these based loosely on some packages that you have, Lanielle, in your Goodshuffle Pro inventory. And the first one I'm going to do is just something simple like a backdrop, right? This could be something as easy that's like standalone, or it can be something that is assembled of a couple parts and pieces. So I'm going to go ahead and say that I am going to add this wild one backdrop here. And so when I add that to the quote, of course, that's going to be just like its own line item. But there are plenty of things that have parts and pieces. So in this case, it could be my baby table, where these are all different letters and a table topper that are a part of my inventory. So you can see here that Goodshuffle is tracking BABY, right, as separate items and my glass top table. But these are grayed out, which means when the client sees this in their view, that's all hidden, right? But if you're going a million miles an hour on event day, you want a clear checklist of everything you need to bring, right? You don't want to have to second guess anything as you're going to load up your car or van or truck. And so we'll break down for you this great checklist of everything that you've prepped, making sure that the client has received the items. And then when you're leaving the event site, that you've got everything picked back up. Now, I know so much of the work that you do, Lanielle, is, custom and unique to each event. And so let's talk through a custom example. And so let's say we're going to do like a custom table setup. You mentioned that you typically do like linens, some maybe decor pieces, that kind of thing.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and add a custom line item. So this is a one-off thing. I'm creating this uniquely for Bethany's baby table. And I can drag and drop, as you mentioned here, those great photos. I can drag and drop those directly onto this order. So instead of sending the client a separate link to a Pinterest page or my Instagram account, all of those photos are right here. And if we wanted to call anything out, right, that we are going to have like the centerpieces like this and set up like this and a runner like
You are
this.
teaching me something new.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Yes. So even if you don't have the perfect photo that showcases everything, right, this can really create some clarity for your client. And of course, you have the opportunity to add any additional notes that are client facing, maybe a note that the client is providing the tables and they're going to be 8-foot recs. And then internally, maybe she tells me that she's going to have them set up in the living room. Okay. Now, when I price this out, you can, like, if you're working with a client that knows their budget and is like, hey, I've got $500 max for this, awesome. Add that line item, you're good to go. But for the clients who are giving you a photo of the setup and saying, hey, how much would it cost you to do this? Goodshuffle Pro is going to help you get those costs together. And so you're going to price this by the contents that you're adding to this table setup. So notice right now it's at $0. Now I'm going to go and I'm going to start to shop my inventory. So we mentioned needing a tablecloth, so I can search for that item and add that in here. We need a little burlap runner. So I'm going to add that. And then I'm going to do a B block for our florals. Right? And then maybe like a little vase for some flowers. Now you'll notice as I go to add my Victor vase, maybe I want to put 2 of these on each table. Goodshuffle Pro is throwing up a flag to say, hey, you might not have enough of this particular item in order to fulfill Bethany's baby shower. And Goodshuffle Pro is showing me exactly why. If we look down here, it looks like I've also got a grad party for Topanga from Pembroke. Now, this is such a unique quality with Goodshuffle Pro because we want to keep you in the driver's seat as soon as you're putting quotes together with clients. We know that, like, as much as we do to make it easy for your clients to sign and pay and get orders signed quickly, you all have those clients who just drag their feet. And so Goodshuffle is surfacing for you, hey, you actually quoted 2 of these to Topanga, but she hasn't signed her contract yet. Now, Lanielle, if you were in this scenario, what are some of the steps that you take to figure out what to do next?
So if I quoted someone and they're kind of dragging their feet, and I have another client who's coming to me for something, then for me, I reach out to the client who is kind of dragging their feet and I just let them know. I just check in with them and just say, hey, I have reached out, I've sent you a quote, just wanted to make sure that you are still interested, because I have another client that is interested in the same inventory on the same date. So that is what I do. And if the client responds and says, up, I paid,
we got to find something else.
Because my clients, understand that it's first come, first serve. But if I don't hear from my client, then that's when I will, or the previous client, who I sent a quote to and I'm not hearing from them, then I'll go ahead and book the other client. But I mean, and you could also make the decision, because sometimes both of them come back and say, yep, I want it, right? So then sometimes I just have to order new inventory if I'm able to accommodate both of them.
Yes, absolutely. That's where we totally keep you in the driver's seat here, because I would assume too, Lanielle, that it really depends on the item. Something like a Victor vase where, you can Amazon Prime that or Walmart overnight it, or pick it up from the Hobby Lobby, fine. But maybe it is a more unique piece that you physically can't replace. It's like a vintage settee or a side table, something like that, that is truly unique. This is why we want you to have the information very early on in the process, because if I open this up and let's say Topanga's quote was like 3 times as much as my quote for Bethany, or maybe Topanga's party is just closer than Bethany's, and I'd rather do that one. You just have all of the information you need to make a good decision. And if ultimately Topanga says something like, hey, I really am interested in, but I can't do it just yet. Maybe you make the decision to go ahead and say, you know what, I can't guarantee those. I'm going to give you like something really similar on
Mm-hmm.
your quote. So you can always, swap things out and make changes very easily to these quotes and contracts as well. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and finish adding my Victor vases here. And the last thing I may want to consider or that I'm going to do is maybe add a balloon garland over the baby table. And there's many ways that you can set this up. I have in Goodshuffle my like garlands here priced per foot. So if I were going to do like a 10-foot garland, right, Goodshuffle Pro would calculate that cost. And my last part of this kind of recipe for the table setup is going to be your time, right? Maybe that's your balloon fill and construction. Maybe that's some of the planning time, but that is, as Lanielle had pointed out, your most important resource. And so whether you want to do that, charge, per foot, per minute, whatever it is, definitely don't forget to include those costs, because with Goodshuffle, as you'll see here, you can break down all of these different costs to come up with your overall price, but you pick and choose what the client is going to see. While you see all of these individual costs here, you can always go ahead and hide certain components from the client, because we all know it's good to be transparent, but we also want to make sure that we give the client just enough information to move forward with us. They don't have to know all the nuts and bolts of what's going into this.
Yes. And to that point, when I am creating my quotes, a lot of times, that's the thing that I love about Goodshuffle is that, I can see everything individually, but I'm able to just show the client one price for like a package pretty much that I created. And so they can see the pictures of everything in the quote, but they don't necessarily see the prices of each line item. So they just see this is the total cost for the decorations.
Exactly. And so we actually can preview what the client is going to see here. And so you'll notice the difference in the baby table where that's obvious. I don't want to include all of those things. But for Bethany's baby table setup, I may want to show, okay, I am not providing like the glassware in this instance, or I'm not providing the florals, like giving some clarity on what part of those inspiration photos you are providing, I think is really important, but ultimately you get to pick and choose. Lonielle, is there anything else that you add to your quotes or proposals before sending them out to the client?
Yes. So for every one of my quotes, I add, so I actually do my setup fee and my cleanup fee separately. So I
Okay.
add that to the logistics at the bottom.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so you can set those up in a couple of different ways. I recently had a client who did her kind of logistics for setup and tear down. She included, and you can include whatever you want. I've got kind of a boring truck as an example here. But she actually included photos of like her smiling face setting up at a client site as a real reminder, hey, this is a human behind this cost, right? This isn't just some like fee that I'm arbitrarily adding.
Mm-hmm.
I am a human and it's taking my time to set up and tear down these items. Now every account can call these things, add their own picture, what they want to. I have an example here, a location based like drop off and pickup. As Lanielle mentioned, you could have, set up a drop off, tear down at pickup, what have you. So that can all be customized to your account as well. All right, Lanielle, do you think we're in good shape to send this off to Bethany?
I do, just as long. So there's something else
Okay.
that I always
Yeah, tell
do.
me.
So I go into settings, and this is maybe something, that you could do beforehand, but I go into settings and I adjust my payment options,
Okay.
because the billing settings, because I only accept the first two. I don't accept the last two. So that's what
Okay.
I do for all of mine.
Awesome. And you can set these up. We've got to make sure that you know that you can control these system wide or on individual orders as well. So, Lanielle, we got to show you how to make it that these are
Yes.
automatically unchecked every time. But if you only wanted to allow credit card payments or you only wanted to give folks the option for a bank transfer, that's totally up to you. You'll also set up your own custom payment setting. So what the client owes when they make their deposit and when their remaining balance is due. Lanielle, how do you have that set up?
I'm sorry, how do I have my payment due? My
Yes.
payment policy.
Mhm.
So the deposit is due once you book, and then the remaining is due 2 weeks prior to the event.
Okay. And do you do 50-50 split?
I do 20 for now. For now, I do 20% upfront, 25% upfront, and then 75%, is due 2 weeks before.
Okay. Yeah. You all have tons of options here. And a conversation that I have with women business owners very often is don't be afraid to change these, right? If this is an event where you have to front a lot of money to buy things for the first time, maybe you do 50-50, maybe you do 60-40 so that you're not out so much cash, or you've kind of got this remaining balance that's only due 2 weeks prior, right? Perhaps for that, you have it, due 30 days. So those can always change from event to event as well. Just something I wanted to point out there. Okay, so I have sent this off to Bethany. You've noticed that our quote has automatically updated here. So let's kind of shift gears now. And instead of being in like Lonielle's shoes or a planner's shoes, let's go ahead and put ourselves in the client's shoes. So this is all branded to my fake event company with my colors and things. But this is the setup of the email that your clients will receive. And it's so polished and professional. As Lanielle mentioned, this is just so clean and easy for the clients. You, of course, can customize this with your logo and colors. But the other thing I want to point out is this is mobile friendly for your clients too. So think about how much you're doing on your phone these days, how much bills you're paying, right? Give your clients that same convenience and also enable them to see those beautiful photos, right? How easy is it for them to have access to all of this here in one place? Anytime that we want the client focused on moving forward, we don't want to distract them by sending them a separate link on Pinterest, right? Then they wind up on Pinterest for 2 days and we don't hear from them. So instead, it's easy for the client to go in and say, yep, this pricing looks great. Of course, you'll add your terms and conditions, and then you can allow the clients to just sign right away online and pay their deposit. It's so breezy. So Lanielle mentioned that she gives options for credit card and e-check. If you want to go old school and allow for, check payments as well, you could do that too. And then Lanielle, one of your favorite features is not only the breeziness with which the clients can pay here, but the fact that they can also opt into auto pay their remaining balance. Do a lot of your clients take advantage of that?
Yes, and I love to get the email. I'm not sure if my clients know that I receive an email when they opt into auto pay, but I love to see that when they pay their deposit and then it says auto pay, because now I know that I don't have to hunt them down for that remaining 75%.
Absolutely. Lanielle, tell our viewers what else is automated through this process that you're not having to do anymore? Send out contracts, copies of the contracts to the clients, receipts for payment, and then of course update this in Goodshuffle.
Yes.
You've been doing it so for long now, you forget how tedious it could have been without Goodshuffle. So
I know.
Goodshuffle will automatically send copies of the signed contract to your
Oh,
client.
yes.
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 Lanielle receives emails that says, hey, Bethany signed her contract. And then when payments are made, as she mentioned, she gets emails with those as well. And you'll see that Goodshuffle has gone ahead and logged the payment information here and that future authorization amount as well. If the clients don't opt into this auto pay, you can set up in Goodshuffle Pro automated payment reminders. So that is one less thing you have to chase down from a client. And it's that easy. I mean, we were in hyperspeed a little bit, I think, Lanielle, but I mean, are you getting kind of regular results like that from your clients, being able to sign and pay so quickly?
Yes. I mean, my clients, they go in, this has increased, you know, the speed at which my clients sign their contract. I book people, you know, much quicker now because they literally just go in, like you said, on their phone. It's mobile friendly. They go in, they see the pictures, they say, yep, this is what I want. They sign their contract, they pay their invoice. Now, sometimes people will sign their contract and then, you know, you're waiting just, you know, a day or so for them to pay the invoice. But for the most part, you know, it's a very simple process. It's before, oh my gosh, it was just so cumbersome and inefficient, the things that I used to do by sending like a Word document. And then after they would agree to the quote, you know, my Word document, then I would have to go into PayPal and send them the invoice for the deposit. And then if they decided, right, to add something, then I'll have to go through that process again. Okay, here's the updated quote in the Word. And then, okay, now let me go back in, you know, to PayPal to give you your updated invoice for the deposit. And then you have to go in after people pay in PayPal, you have to go in to transfer the money to your account, right? So it's just like all these manual steps that Goodshuffle has eliminated for me.
Oh my gosh. Well, we love to hear it. Lanielle, is there anything else before I open it up for questions? Anything else that is you want to make sure that we showed off here?
Did you show, I mean, we should probably open it up to questions, but if you guys want to see like how you actually enter into like your inventory, did you like create an item?
Yeah, we can absolutely take a look at that. In the meantime, while I am doing that, feel free to drop your questions in. Lanielle, what piece of inventory should we add?
A tablecloth, a
Tablecloth.
table
Okay,
linen, something simple.
perfect. Awesome. So there are ways to add multiple items at once. I'm going to go through the single ad. Just it is a similar process, and we can always help you enter multiple items in. It's going to ask all the same questions, but this way you guys can get a short preview of what it is like to add a product. So I'm going to go ahead and I've just Googled a table linen. And so let's go ahead and see. We're going to add the name of the item. Let's say this is a block blue printed tablecloth. You can add separate contract and web descriptions. Now, Lonielle, the e-commerce plugin is something that you are going to be adding soon to your site based on a conversation we recently had. And so the convenience there is you guys can build, you know, descriptions of your item. Those can be different from the contract versus the web. Of course, on a contract, right, you may want to lean more like you break this item, you buy it, or you stain it. This is how much the replacement cost is going to be. But if I list this product on my website, I'm going to want to lean into how this is a bass table rental for your baby shower in the DMV, right? Whatever keywords you're really trying to win or how folks are finding you. And then internal notes. Again, remember, we're going to brain dump as much as possible into Goodshuffle. So when the time comes, we're not having to remember anything. So these can be those handle with care type. Any other pointers for those fields, Lanielle?
That's what I was just gonna say. So how you set something up, how you pack it, like you said, handling the items. That's what I tend to put in there.
Mm-hmm. Love that. It's also good too if if we think forward to a point in time when you're growing your business, you get to the point where you're bringing in employees. This ensures that you're not having to come behind them and give instructions every single time. Or, maybe this is a piece of inventory that you've had for a long time and you just forget, right? So do it in the moment. Then we're going to categorize this item. We'll put this into our linen and tablecloths. And then you all have the option to list your items on the Goodshuffle Pro Marketplace, which is a free listing of your items at goodshuffle.com and on your website if you want to, which we'll preview here in a moment. Lonielle, do you use any attributes for your items?
Yes.
Okay.
So when I'm doing table linens, I always enter, the dimensions of it. Yep, I do the length, width, shape. I don't do the diameter or
Cool.
I do the length. Yes, so I do these.
Yeah, perfect. These are all customizable, right? So what I say with these, take what's helpful, leave or remove anything that's not. If I'm doing a rectangular, whoops, I accidentally unshared my screen. Here we go. If I am doing a rectangular linen, right, that may be like 108 by, Lanielle, help me out. What's a standard size? 30?
Yes.
Okay. And then do this a rectangle. Obviously, diameter is only going to be round. I don't need to use height.
Yep.
I can then tell Goodshuffle, how many of these I have, what I want to price this at. You've got a couple of different pricing options here. So let's say this is going to be $10 a day. And then I want to require delivery. I want to charge sales tax on this. And then I'm going to just go ahead and drag and drop my photo in. Now, what's great about Goodshuffle Pro is being able to add multiple images here. So I love, especially for linens, the ability to showcase multiple photos so that you can show what something looks like close up versus staged, and a client can really start to understand what that's going to look like, at their event site here. Okay. And then another benefit to the relations tab. This is a perfect opportunity for your website to upsell the client. So this may be a great napkin that pairs well with this. Or if you have a backdrop, being able to show like balloon garlands as an added accessory. So let's go ahead and add that item. That was super easy. Added now to my inventory. And next, we're going to visit my fake site and go into my catalog here. Look up this item, and here it is, already added to my website. So the client can see that item, say they need 10 of these, add it to the wish list, go ahead and see that I'm also recommending, this napkin here, add that to their wish list. Once the wish list is ready to go, they'll put in the date and time of their event. They'll tell you who they are and where they need the items dropped off. And then they're off to the races. And this is so easy for the client. It's so convenient for you because as easy as it was to enter orders into Goodshuffle, we're going to now help Lanielle skip that step completely because it's going to create a new project for her right in Goodshuffle Pro right here. So we can't wait for that to be a feature live on your site, Lanielle.
I can't either.
Awesome. Well, with that, I'm going to check our chat thread to see if any questions have come up. It looks like folks have we've answered all their questions, Lanielle. So loving that. I'm gonna wrap up here with our next steps. Now, we'd love to pack up and go with you on your road trip. What we
Oh, someone's typing a question right now.
Okay, we will
Is that
get
okay?
you. Yeah, of course. We'll
Okay.
make sure that gets answered, of course. But Lanielle and I want to pack up and go with you on your road trip. And what you'll need to set yourself, we can't tell you the destination that you want to go to, right? You've got to come up with how you want to grow your business and where you want to go. We've shared some resources with you to help you determine that. And once you've got your destination in mind, when it comes to the business plan, your website, determining your unique value, what goods and services, what software and tools you want to use. Those are things that Lonielle and Goodshuffle Pro can both offer. Lonielle has a great YouTube channel with such thoughtful content, and even offers some coaching one-on-one programs as well. As you see, you have access to Goodshuffle Pro event software. Anyone that finds us through Lonielle gets an extended trial. So we'd love to have you kick the tires with us and explore Goodshuffle Pro for your business. And of course, on our website, you can also find links to professional resources and a ton of great content on our blogs. So with that, I have one question from Ebony, which is a great question to close with, and is
Yes.
I am a small, just starting out business, 1 month old. Would this be valuable now or later as I get more seasoned? Lonielle, do you want to take a first swing at that?
Sure. I can definitely give you my professional opinion. I think the great thing about Goodshuffle Pro is that it's set up to grow with you. So if you are just starting out, like you said, you're 1 month old and you're already starting to purchase inventory, then you could start with Goodshuffle Pro, to track your inventory. It's a great tool. You don't necessarily, have to be a full-fledged warehouse, with a bunch of inventory. You could start with what you have. And then as you acquire more, you'll just grow with Goodshuffle. They have plenty of, features that will help grow with you. So it's really just a matter of, what you're willing to invest in, right? What I was talking about earlier is how do you want to spend your time? It's never too early to start thinking about, like where, like, what am I doing with my time? Where's my time best spent, right? Like, I'm going to either do this with my time or I'm going to do this. I think, when I first started, I would have loved to have a system, like Goodshuffle Pro, because I think of all the time that I could have been saving, rather than taking 2 days to send a client a quote, I could have been spending that time doing a YouTube video, right? So I think, it's never too early to invest in an inventory management system if you have inventory. I think it's just a matter of, how much you want to invest and where do you want to invest your time.
I think that was so well said. I mean, the options here, Ebony, are like we started this conversation with, your business is a road trip, right? You are going cross country here. This is not a road trip just a mile away. And so you've got either option, right? You can be that person who has everything packed, has everything situated in the car, so you're not having to make as many stops along the way. Or you can casually be that pack up and go person that gets some of the fundamentals and then picks up additional tools along the way. I mean, Lanielle is a great example of that, where she got started with our core account and then is now adding on the website integration. There are other folks that want it all in one from the get-go because they don't want to be as client facing and they prefer to show product on their website, have folks put a list together and crank out quotes. So there is no wrong paths here at all. It is going to be what sets you apart or sets you up for success as a business owner. And I know both through Lonielle's resources and ours, we're here to support that journey.
I'm just reading where you say, Ebony, that you have an inventory and need an RV.
Yes,
for this road trip.
love that. Yeah. And if you have an extensive inventory, my other kind of comparison, Ebony, is people don't know what they don't know, right? They don't, if you're not showing them the product that you have, they don't necessarily know to ask about it because folks are so visually driven.
Mhm.
And what I think event people often forget is that we are experts in this field. And so you may have all these balloon, pictures and arches and backdrops on your website, but you're not really featuring like table linens and chargers and centerpieces. And so someone comes to you for a balloon arch, but if you're not being proactive and offering those additional services, and it's not obvious on your website that you do, you might could have doubled that size of that order, but you lost that opportunity because you didn't showcase that on the website. And it's all those little small things, right? That, to Lanielle's point, get hidden under things in the storage unit or get forgotten in the basement that you don't have. And that's where your inventory kind of becomes like tenants in an apartment building, right? They're all taking up space for you and you're paying to store them one way or another. And if they're not earning their keep, right? If you're not putting them out there to get rented, they're never going to be as good of a return on your investment. Awesome. Looks like we've got one more question from Tracy asking about our website wishlist integration and if there's a particular host that's best to use with this system. So your question was a little generic, Tracy, and with this system. So with Goodshuffle Pro in general, we are a cloud-based software that you can access from anywhere. So just like you log in to check your email or log in on Facebook, right? You can do that from your phone, a tablet, your laptop, wherever you are. So to use the inventory management side, send those quotes and contracts and collect payments, no, there's no system requirement. On the website side of things, there are some particular websites that are more friendly to our integration than others. I'd say the overwhelming majority of our clients are either on Squarespace, WordPress, or Weebly. There are other platforms that we play nicely with, but I'd say most of our clients are on those platforms. My particular favorite is Squarespace because I think it's really easy to use. And if you want to build your site yourself, Squarespace has beautiful templates to get something polished and professional out there. If you want to work with a developer whose expertise is building websites, right? You all are event folks. You shouldn't be expected to know how to build the perfect website. We have such great individuals that we can recommend who are really affordable on that front. And so if you want to connect via email, I can refer you to those folks as well. Awesome. Well, everyone, that is going to conclude our session. It has been such a pleasure having you tonight, Lanielle. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I know it's given such great insight to your subscribers and anyone watching this video, what your experience with Goodshuffle has been like.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed this conversation too. Hopefully next time you'll see me.
Yes, next time we'll have to do it again because not only do we want to see you, but we also want to unveil your website. So maybe we'll get together when that gets done.
Perfect.
All right, Lanielle. Everyone, thanks again for joining us. Have a good one. If you want any more information from Lanielle or from myself, please be sure to reach out to us. If you're registered for this session, we've got your email. We'll get in touch. If you're watching the recording, our contact information will be in the description below.